Okay, boys, I'm going to do a recap of the Parm 2019 fantasy football season. I've got kind of an awkward setup here, but I think it should work, and I don't want to do any more work for this because I recorded about a tenth of this video already and found out it was not going to work the way that I wanted to do it. So, I'm going to get into it. I'm not going to try to be too harsh on everybody like I normally am after the draft and talk about why I think your pick sucks. I will definitely say why it objectively sucked if there was something that went wrong, but this will be a good time to try to give people credit for any diamonds in the rough they accidentally found or anything that they were looking at on purpose and, they came out on top. So I'm going to go ahead and get it started. Before I do, just want to talk about, I looked at some of the stats around the league this year. It's kind of a weird year. I don't know if it was actually down in the actual NFL in terms of scoring, but when I saw stuff like Jameis Winston passed for the most yards this year and had the most passing touchdowns with 33, that motherfucker also threw 30 interceptions, I was kind of shocked by stuff like that. So there's going to be like some guys who probably gave you a few good weeks and they ended up being a top 15 player, even though you thought they sucked for most of the year. So kind of odd. If you ended up with too many studs on your team, that's obviously why you would have succeeded in this. But like I said, we'll go over everything and I'm going to just jump right into it with Jeff. So first pick was Saquon Barkley. Can't be mad at Jeff for that. I think that he was pretty much the consensus number one pick. He honestly had a pretty good year, but he got about 100 plus yards and a touchdown in a useless game against the Eagles that didn't do shit for Jeff. So, he also got hurt. Injuries are going to mess up a lot of people in this one. There are guys who missed 2, 3, 4, 5 games, and when they produced well, when they were in, they produced well, but Saquon's kind of one of those where I don't know what you were going to do. Unless you had a really strong feeling about McCaffrey, you should have taken Saquon. Outside of that, Keenan Allen was pretty good. Leonard Fournette played well early, and then he regressed to the mean, as you might suspect from Fournette. Aaron Rodgers sucked. That was unfortunate. DJ Moore was okay. Hunter Henry was... Austin Eckler was great. That's probably the best pick that you had. Jordan Howard, if you played him when he had a good game, as an Eagles fan, I know he had a few, but he had so many where he sucked, so it's kind of hard to say. My man, you got Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He was not even a starting wide receiver by the end of the year. That sucks. As somebody who had to start Geronimo Allison a lot, I feel your pain. And then you got Jalen Richard, nothing. Ronald Jones, probably never started him when it mattered. Trey Burton died. Matt Stafford died. There was only one good defense to have this year, so, whatever. Minnesota, Prater. So, Jeff, I think you did fine. I didn't think you didn't reach like you normally do. You went pretty safe with, I think, a lot of your picks. So, that Saquon pick, that just kind of killed you. Next up, we got the runner-up to our championship, Robert Marino Marchi. I gave him a lot of crap, and I skipped over his first pick. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey was the number 2 pick, I think. I think he's definitely better than Kamara. Obviously, he had the best year of any running back, and so that worked out really well for you. I guess I give you props, Marchi, on not thinking Kamara was better than the white run god. I had him in another league. I won that league just barely. So props. A lot of respect on Kerryon Johnson. Also another guy that got hurt, but produced while he was in. So give you respect on that. Kelsey, kind of a no-brainer, but worked out well. Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay led the league in receiving touchdowns with 11, which is really a low number because that means he still got only one every other game about. Sometimes he'd have a multi-touchdown game. It's weird. The guys who were like 1, 2, and 3 then, you can see some weird names if you go look at that list. Austin Eckler had 8 receiving touchdowns and Kenny Galladay had 11. So that just kind of tells you how spread out receiving touchdowns were this year. Chris Godwin, you believe the hype, and it worked out for you. So that's a great team right there. Allen Robinson wasn't nothing, so whatever. Evan Ingram, I don't remember him doing much. He probably got hurt again this year. Drew Brees got hurt, but you made it to the championship game. I'm looking at something Washington. I can't read all these from the distance I am. Kalen Ballage, drafted, which is shocking, and he died, and I know he didn't stay on your team. DK Metcalf, that's a hell of a pick. Props to you for that. Phillip Rivers was booty. I don't even know who this Hamilton fella is. Pittsburgh D was actually pretty good at the end of the year. Don't know how long you held on to them. And Chris Boswell, because Pittsburgh, whatever. But Marchi, that's a really good top of the draft. I'd say your first 5 picks all hit. Take them again. Kerryon Johnson getting hurt. You can't predict injuries, but everybody's going to have one or two of those probably. Next up, we got Scotty Balls. Scotty Balls he finished in the top 3 in our league. Alvin Kamara was a fine pick there. Obviously there were running backs who did better than him, but there's no way you could have known. So you did the right thing. Josh Jacobs in the second round really worked out. He had a pretty good year. Obviously got hurt a little bit. Brandon Cooks sucked. He was barely, it's almost hard to believe he even played this year. And then you got Deshaun Watson. Okay, so Jameis Winston, again, led the league in passing touchdowns with 33. Almost no quarterback was worth going in the top 8 this year, except on name recognition alone. Deshaun Watson did well, though. He was definitely one of the better quarterbacks, but taking him in the 4th round, you're going to see that there were a lot of guys you could have gotten after that who would have been better. But, obviously know that. Calvin Ridley had a few good games. Melvin Gordon, I don't know what he did once he did come back, but he missed so many games, I would say it's not worth it. Latavius Murray probably filled in okay. Will Fuller had all of 2 good games. Rashad Penny had probably all of 3 good games. And the end of your draft is the end of a draft. Dak Prescott was really good. So hopefully you switched over to Dak Prescott when he was lighting it up, and you didn't stick with Deshaun Watson for too long. Philly's D had 1 good game, and I think I picked him up for the 1 good game they had against the Jets. 10 sacks, a couple defensive touchdowns. So Scott, you have, again, nobody's going to have a draft that blows you away. I would say right now, Marchie's got the best draft going. His first 5 picks were, chef's kiss. All right, next up we got Ryan, our Applebee's winner. Let's see where it went wrong. Okay, his first pick was David Johnson. Went wrong. I think that unless Ryan was relying on believing in Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, that was a dumb pick. He was obviously going to be ranked high because people think David Johnson is super talented, but this is a man who lost his starting job by the end of the year to Kenyon Drake. So, yeah, yikes. Amari Cooper had a couple good games at the beginning, but like I said, there weren't a lot of over-the-top receiving options this year. Devontae Freeman didn't do too much. Had some games, but they were probably useless for you when they happened. T.Y. Hilton got hurt, but he had some games. Who the hell is that? Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan had some really good games. He would have been fine as a quarterback. James White. He's kind of a PPR back, but whatever. Sterling Shepard. Is that Jared Cook? Jared Cook. Again, I don't know if those games worked out for you, so no. You did a good job. Noah Fant as your backup tight end in the final round, I kind of like that a lot. I don't want to have to say all these names again. You didn't have anybody notable outside of that. Jacksonville's D, no. So, yeah. Honestly, good job on getting what you got out of that team, Ryan. I don't think it's terrible, but you are going to be drinking on some $1 drinks for a week. All right, Forrest. Let's see what Forrest did. I know Forrest had at least 1 pick that I talked a lot of shit about that worked out for him. So Le'Veon Bell is not that pick. That pick sucked. He was going to be a dangerous pick no matter what because he had a year off football. Antonio Brown, he played all of 1 game of football. But the guy who worked out, Derrick Henry. Now, again, he had a lot of late games where he did well, where I don't know if all those helped Forrest if he was already out of contention. But Derrick Henry was a stud. He ended up leading the league in rushing because he is a hoss. He had a ton of rushing touchdowns. So, tip of the hat, Forrest. You did the right thing there. And then your next pick, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp at one point was leading the league in receiving yards. He had a good number of receiving touchdowns. Receptions don't count for points in our league. But good job, man. Those 2 picks alone really make up for those duds at 1 and 2. But obviously just getting flat-out misses there is going to screw up your chances. Baker Mayfield, again, played like booty. There weren't a lot of great quarterbacks, but he didn't even play well at all. I probably would have said that was going to work out for you. I didn't see Freddie Soup Kitchen ruining his life. AJ Green, another guy, did not play a snap. The fact that you drafted 2 guys who played 1 total game is absurd. You also took Peyton Barber, LaShawn McCoy, and you took him the day that we knew he had been cut from. You had some weird misses, buddy. Everybody's gotten pretty good at this, so you had some ones that were questionable. AJ Green, nobody thought he was going to be out for the year, and the Bengals honestly mismanaged him. So That's whatever. I don't know if you hung on to Kareem Hunt. Mark Andrews, getting him in the, what is that? Looks like the 12th round. Nice job, buddy. Jameis Winston, that man went 30 for 30. 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. He is garbage. But the kind of garbage that you kind of keep coming back to say, it doesn't smell that bad. And then nothing important. New Orleans D was actually okay this year, but defense, whatever. Okay, to myself. I still really like my top 3 picks. They just ended up getting hurt. Devontae Adams got hurt, and then he didn't catch touchdowns the first 4 games he was in. Ezekiel Elliott just never had a huge game when I needed it, consistently getting between 8 and 15 points, which I needed somebody to carry my team. Adam Thielen got a touchdown occasionally and then got hurt for the rest of the year. Marlon Mack was actually probably my best pick, but he didn't explode enough. Tevin Coleman I ended up dropping, I know, when he had his big game with San Francisco because he got hurt the first damn game. And I sat my next pick, Sammy Watkins, because I thought Tevin Coleman was the better play, and Sammy Watkins had his best game. So some mismanagement there on my part. Who was that? Somebody Anderson probably wasn't good. Christian Kirk, he did. Oh, Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson didn't play him when it counted. Christian Kirk won me 1 game. He went off, got all his touchdowns, all 3 of them in 1 game, won me that. Vance McDonald, I didn't really play too much. Darrell Henderson ended up not being the backup. Dante Moncrief was a booty. Kyler Murray was actually a pretty good starting quarterback for most of the year. So my decision to wait on quarterbacks while everybody else jumped all over them worked out, I guess. I didn't really win, so it doesn't matter. Jack Doyle was a good tight end at the end of the year, but I'm pretty sure I dropped him and picked him back up. Sam Darnold got mono. Baltimore's D, I picked up Baltimore's D specifically because they were playing the Dolphins week 1, and they waxed them. Other than that, they actually turned into a pretty good D that year. So my draft shows kind of why I was at the end. I'm not really thrilled about anybody. There were a couple picks that ended up making sense and being solid, but, you know, it is what it is. Next up, we got Paul. Paul taking Todd Gurley at the point he did in that round actually made sense. Todd Gurley didn't get that many yards, but he got some touchdowns, so that's cool. Poo-Poo Smith-Schuster was buns and got hurt. So that sucked, but that's on him. Paul then took Damian Williams, the Williams brothers, and LaShawn McCoy. That backfield was a damn mess. You could not rely on it. David Montgomery, you couldn't rely on him because the Bears' offense was hell. Tyler Boyd, the Bengals went 1-13. Alshon Jeffrey, the Eagles' wide receiving core got decimated. And then you took Emmanuel Sanders, who played with a terrible quarterback and then went to the Niners, where they love to run the ball. I'm sure you probably didn't get the best games you could have out of him, but that's not your fault, man. And then, gotta see who that is. Somebody Davis. Don't know who it is. Can't see. David Njoku broke his wrist because Baker Mayfield overthrew him with a high ball. Russell Wilson. That's not Russell Wilson, is it? Yeah. Russell Wilson. That's a damn good quarterback pick. There's only one quarterback pick I would say that was better than that, and I think we know what that'll be. Chicago's D had some good games at the beginning, but they regressed to the mean, so they probably didn't need to come off the board first, but that's whatever. Then you took Adrian Peterson, who, if you played him, got you a couple games. Jackson, not going to dig in on that. Took my favorite Cousins, Mohamed Sanu, and then Bagley. So Russell Wilson was definitely your best pick, Paul. Props on that. People need to believe in Russell Wilson because he can make magic happen with nothing. So that was nice. Other than that, you got some tough breaks with your top picks. I wouldn't say that you did anything stupid, but I did not believe in Juju Smith-Schuster at the beginning of the year, and Ben Roethlisberger getting hurt, that kind of threw that out the window. All right, let's go to our surprising champion, Nicholas Balanich. James Conner as your number 1 pick. I liked it then, and I still kind of like it now. They clearly wanted to be a power running team, especially when Ben Roethlisberger went down, but James Conner just kept getting nicked up and hurt. So I'm sure he had a couple good games for you. Mike Evans worked out a ton for you. He ended up being a top receiver in the league for a lot of the year. Then he got hurt. Then you got Chris Carson. Chris Carson had a really good year. Robert Woods was Tyler Lockett had some pretty good games. The MVP of your team, Kenyon Drake, just came on when it counted. So you snuck into the playoffs with a sort of average record, but you got great play for somebody like that. Uh, Honestly, it's hard to say you had a good draft in the beginning, Nick, but just guys hit for you when they needed to. All these guys, when they fell off, it was when you didn't need them, and then there were guys who picked up when you did. So you just got this sort of perfect balance, and I can kind of see why you won. I just can't say this was a great draft necessarily. It was good enough, though, to win, so who gives a rip? Then you got Cam Newton, played all of 2 games, and the 2 he played, he was ass cheeks. Royce Freeman was decent. Austin Hooper at one point was the #1 tight end in the league. So again, you got just hot starts from some people, and you ran with it. So more props to you. Nyheim Hines ain't nothing. You got somebody named Williams, who I can't see the first name. You took a kicker early, Justin Tucker, but if you're going to take one, whatever. Buffalo's D, nice. Jimmy Garoppolo came on. Again, Jimmy Garoppolo came on late, so you were able to kind of work that for you. Rashad Higgins don't matter, and Tyler Eifert, man. Never again. All right, let's go to Andy. I think Andy had the best team going into the year, and coming out of it, I would still say it's pretty close. I would lean on him. DeAndre Hopkins didn't have he didn't have an over-the-top year, but he was okay. So that's a rough first pick. But Nick half Chubb, he was giving the full Chubb a lot of games. So respect on that, Andy. And then you got Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones was the best boom or bust prospect in the entire draft. He had games where he would score somewhere between 30 and 40 points, but then sometimes he would have games where he scored 5. So he probably won you a lot of games. He was rarely a positive non-plus factor, meaning he did what Zeke did. Oh, that was a good performance. I lost because the rest of my team sucks. Aaron Jones probably flat out won you some games, so respect on that. Edelman had a few games, but the Patriots offense was mostly butt. Philip Lindsay, he's 5'8", so he did okay sometimes. Other times he was giving up carries to Royce Freeman. Darius Geis got hurt. D.D. Westbrook did almost nothing this year. Frank Gore, the remains, sometimes. He is inevitable. Then we got Delaney Walker. Tom Brady didn't do too much, but way down below that in the is that the 13th round? You got Lamar Jackson. That's the best pick of the draft, hands down. To get Lamar Jackson in the 13th round, you win. That's better than me drafting Patrick Mahomes in like the 9th or 10th. Even though Mahomes had a better year statistically, Lamar Jackson in the 13th. Boom, you got it. You got Greg the Leg as your kicker, who I don't know how well he did this year. Cleveland's D, and then it looks like Carlos Hyde. So, respect, Andy. I still think that your team's the best. If there was a team that I was going to choose to have to work out, I would still work out with your team, but Kenyon Drake just kind of pulled it out and put it on your face. All right, Rob Campbell. Rob Campbell had the best receiver in the league, Michael Thomas. You literally can't guard Mike. He had 1,700 yards, and I think he had like 9 or 10 touchdowns maybe. But with 1,700 yards, it means he was giving you almost 10 points a game just on that, and maybe he got a touchdown to supplement it. There wasn't really another receiver in the league that was doing something that good. Dalvin Cook, awesome. He was the number 2 running back, I know, at least in PPR leagues. So, killing it. George Kittle is a man. Also a great tight end there. So, I'm kind of surprised Campbell's team didn't go further. Mark Ingram, he was so touchdown dependent, and he kept getting touchdowns. So respect to you on that, man. Carson Wentz, he was up and down, but he was serviceable if you had him as a starter. And then Josh Gordon, he can't stay off the weed and the pills and a number of other things, allegedly. So that sucked. Jarvis Landry, if you held on to him, he had a couple good games, but, nothing to write home about. Tariq Cohen, nah. Cortland Sutton, if you held on to him, really good. Geronimo Allison, booty. Totally booty. Like, not worth picking up. Then I think you got Curtis Samuels, Mitchell Trubisky. Campbell, I really like the top of your draft. I'm going to give you a lot of credit for the guys. Somebody like Mark Ingram just worked out really well for you, so I really like it. Now we go to Josh. At the time, I thought Josh had the worst draft, and looking back at it, he really did. I don't blame him for all his picks that just didn't work out, but I didn't like how it looked then, and I don't like how it looks now. OBJ, obviously, in hindsight, had a worse year than anybody could have expected, but because of what that offense was going to be with so many weapons, it was hard to really trust any one of them for a first-round pick. Like Nick Chubb just happened to be the guy who actually did the best. So it is what it is. Joe Mixon, obviously, the Bengals were terrible. So let's see. Sony Michel, bruh. He had a good end of the year, and he just did not get the carries. He just wasn't their main back. James White was once again the guy for them. Zach Ertz had an okay year, but again, mostly what he did was get receptions. He wasn't getting yards and touchdowns the way you would want in our league. And then Mike Williams, he probably caught 4 touchdowns for no reason. And then you got, I want to make sure, if I'm going to talk trash about your team, Josh, I got to make sure I get it all right. Oh, you drafted Duke Johnson. He did not do anything really. Then you got, I don't know, this just isn't good, Josh. I hate to kill you because I said I wasn't going to try to be too pessimistic on teams, but I really don't like any of your picks. Michael Gallup is probably the best one. I got to come back in who this Jones was because that probably wasn't that bad. Oh. So I don't think you started Marvin Jones when he had that ridiculous game where he caught like 3 or 4 touchdowns, but he actually ended up being in the top 5 for receiving touchdowns because, again, the league leader had 11. So it looks like he was a good pick, but his point production was in all of 4 games probably. So that is weirdly one of your better picks, but also definitely didn't work out for you. Him and Michael Gallup both had games where they did well, but not enough. So your team was rough, man. I would not have taken a lot of these guys, though. And that's even with hindsight being 2020. If I didn't know, I would not draft your team. But, it's always next year, man. Always have somebody. And look, you aren't eating Applebee's. So respect on that. And then finally, we have Mark, a.k.a. Bobby Fricker's team. Bobby went hard on wide receiver, and this was a bad year for wide receivers, which is why Mark's team kind of didn't do as well as he'd hoped. I liked this team if the wide receivers hit. They didn't. So Julio Jones, Tyreek Hill, but Julio Jones did what Julio Jones does, which is get yards and not get touchdowns. And Tyreek Hill got hurt because he is all of 5'10". Super talented, super fast. Absolutely worth the pick there. Got hurt. And Mark just barely missed the playoffs, so obviously that team was good enough to produce. Patrick Mahomes, he didn't play well enough for a third-round pick, especially considering he also got hurt. But at the time, I said, listen, if you're going to take a quarterback in the third round, it's Patrick Mahomes. So Bobby drafted you a pretty good team. Stephon Diggs, I don't think you played him the 140-point game he got, which sucks, but he was good for basically 2 or 3 games, and then he was present. O.J. Howard was Miles Sanders was good late. I don't know if it was enough to help you when it counted. Devin Singletary, again, I just don't know if you got the good games out of him. Tony Pollard, he had 2 good games, I think, with Ezekiel Elliott. Kenny Stills. The top half of your draft, I think Bobby made all the right picks for you, and there's a reason why it was close, because those guys did have really good games. But overall, I would still say Andy probably had the best draft. I got to give Rob a lot of credit for what I gave him shit on, because Kerryon Johnson and Kenny Golladay actually ended up being pretty good players to have. Got to give Forrest some respect for Derrick Henry. I know I gave him a lot of crap about that. Leonard Fournette played better than I thought. If I were going to go worst drafts, Ryan and Josh were pretty unfortunate. So anybody who was at the bottom of the league, we pretty much deserved it. My team wasn't good either. I would draft those guys, but I can't predict Devontae Adams and Adam Thielen getting hurt and Zeke just doing good and not great. So overall, everybody, like I said, if you actually go look at the stats in the NFL, wasn't a great year for touchdowns from any individual person. It's basically Christian McCaffrey was ridiculous. Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones. That's it. Even like the best receiver, Michael Thomas was ridiculous, but the next guy has about 300 less yards receiving than him. So this was kind of one of those wonky years, but I think that everybody continues to do a good job and keep the league balanced. Hopefully next time I do something like this, I can keep it well under 20 minutes. This is at about 25 right now. So I'm going to try to upload this to my YouTube channel and then put it in the group chat because it's going to be freaking massive. If anybody kind of wants to talk to me about something after the fact and say, hey, this guy actually did good, I don't care. All right.